What's up? So here's a real quick race video of the last race of our season. Got 3 riders in this race, myself, Dang and Rick. The plan at the start of the race was to work for Rick, who will basically go for a all-out attack towards the end of the race, and me and Dang are there to basically soften up the group. 2 laps in, we've got this yellow guy trying to make a move off the front, and I'm following this. I look back, and at this point I see there's basically no one chasing, so we've got 4 of us. As we get to the bottom, I'm yelling to pick up the pace. Go. Nothing really happens, so I take a couple of moves just to get to the front and build up the pace a bit and let them know that I'm there to work. But after a little while, this ends up getting brought back. Everyone in the bunch is still a bit too fresh, and the pace slows down again. So Dang is up there on the right at the front in the white helmet, pink and purple kit. He ends up slowly attacking the front and no one chases him. We get to the front straight again and everyone's basically coasting, looking around, having a drink. So I think this is probably a good time for me to attack and force some of these teams to chase us. Worst case, me and Dang are off the front, 2 of us, and we can work together. I catch him and I'm yelling him to go, but the bunch again is too fresh, so they catch us and we kind of kill it. So this part is where A1 end up catching us. We end up just slowing down the pack so that they can get a bit of a gap and we can start our race again. Once they've got a bit of a gap, Dang have been on the front just holding the group up, and Dang just launches an attack. He's pretty deep into it, looks back, he's got a gap and he knows his job is to go. So once he launches his attack, I pretty much stay at the front. I don't do too much of an effort, and as people start to give chase, I'm literally just in the wheels, following them, letting them do all the work. So here we've got a Parramatta guy on the right, looking to bridge the gap, and I can see just up ahead got a Waratah Masters. I know he's quite strong, as well as another guy, so we've got 3 that are bridging. Dang is away off the front, and then we've got another Easts guy and another Waratah Masters trying to bridge to the chasing group. I don't mind this too much. Dang's quite a fair bit away off the front. I check with one of the guys next to me. He's up there? So I know that we're going to work together to kind of slow this bunch down, and that guy that just came around, he's quite a strong sprinter, so I know that if he's up there chasing, doing work, it's going to take out his sprint later on in the race. 61 just in front of me, that's Rick. He's the guy that we're ultimately racing for to get up for the win. This red and blue team in front of Rick, they are the East team, and they later on will show their unhappiness towards our team tactics. Fair enough, it's racing. They probably didn't know that Rick was part of the team. He was wearing a bit of a different kit to what we were wearing. Yeah, what can you do? So we've already brought back that group of 2 that was chasing the chase group, and now we're literally just sitting in, Rick in front of me, sitting in the East's wheel. We end up getting to the front, kind of not completely stopping the pedal, but soft pedaling, and let the other people come around and have to do work and chase down the group of 4 that's up the road. We know Dang's got a pretty decent sprint, so we're pretty happy with how that will shake up at the front. He's got some really good fitness at the moment as well. Over here we've got, not too sure what team this is, but he's doing a hard effort. And we've got the East guy. It looks like he's probably the sprinter for the team. He's got some big legs on him. He's been doing a bit of surging throughout the race already. Similar to that other strong sprinter guy, my idea is let him go off the front and kind of take a bit out of his legs for sprint later on, depending on how the race turns out. So again, I'm on the front, not completely stopping the pedal, but soft pedaling and letting some others give chase, and once they fill in, I basically just jump on some wheels and get a free ride up. I know that Rick's doing some work also. He's kind of following wheels as well, just to fill in those gaps and make sure that we're kind of always at the front and always seeing what's happening in the race. And this is a fast downhill section. You basically don't have to pedal, and we catch that guy that is trying to bridge the gap. A few laps later, the East team in the red and blue, they've pretty much figured out what's happening. They definitely don't have someone in the break. So now that they are chasing, I'm sitting in the wheels, just following what's happening. They're kind of working quite well together. These group of 4, I think they've actually got someone else that's not part of the team also giving chase, which is kind of working out well for me. I'm just sitting in, doing 30 watts, cruising while they're kind of burning some matches to close the gap. I'm not too sure how far away the break is, but I'm pretty happy with how this is kind of panning out. So obviously after couple laps of me sitting in and not doing any work and forcing them to roll through with each other, it's obviously going to make some of these guys pretty unhappy, and right on cue, as the guy in the yellow bike tries to wave me through, he expresses how unhappy he is, but I yell out and just let him know that I've actually got a teammate up the road.
Got a teammate up there, mate.
He's pretty understanding, and we just keep playing this game of them chase, and I slot back in. So this is another lap through, still doing the same thing. They're still chasing, guessing they're getting a little bit frustrated. I know that I definitely would be, and I just let these gaps open up and keep forcing them to fill them. Again, he rolls through, I jump onto the guy that just did some work and force some bunches to come through. So Rick's rolling off, putting in a bit of a gap. I know that guy up the road, their sprinter, he would be a bit more tired than Rick, who's just been riding the wheels, which gives us, so there's 3 up the road already, 4 up the road, plus those 3 chasing. If they catch on, that's still a pretty good makeup for us with Rick and Dang, if they were to join together and make a breakaway group. Again, just following wheels into the straight. There's not so much of a big chase group, but I can see Rick and those 3 guys are starting to pull a bit of a gap. After a little bit of a chase, I'm looking up ahead, I can see some gaps starting to open up. Some people are popping off. I look behind me, there are more gaps, so I think this is probably a good time for me to start chasing, at least getting onto some wheels and following Rick's group of, I think Rick's just trying to solo off the front now. He's dropped those other 3 guys. Once I see that, I kind of soft pedal a little bit just to give Rick a bit of room and just be in enough of a gap that if he gets brought back, then I'll give chase. I can see they've caught him now, so I start putting a little bit of a dig to catch back onto this group. Not too happy with that group, and this is where things start to go a little bit bad. As I come around the corner and get over this little gap, I think I see our kit up the road. As I get a little bit closer, yep, it's Dang. Looks like he's been dropped from that front group of 3. Catch up to him, I ask him how far ahead they are.
How far are they?
He said not too far ahead, so I quickly make a bit of a move to get up to the front. I know Rick's up there, and let him know that we need to start working and rolling to catch that front group of 3. I know that 2 to 3 of them all 3 of them are actually quite strong, so there is still a chance that they might get away, and we're over halfway through the race. I get to the front, do a bit of work, and let Rick know that we need to start pushing the pace. Luckily, all of the other teams are still a bit determined to do some work. Rick, not sure. There were some plans for him to do a bit of an attack about 20 minutes into the race, so I think that's what he was doing here, which for us was good. I normally wouldn't chase this down, but because there's no one in the break of the road of 3, do chase this down and kind of drag the bunch with me along, and then as I pass Rick I let him know that I need to roll and again catch the group, and then he can do what he needs to do. That's A1 lapping us the second time. They are beasts. We're rolling turns, so this is us. We actually finally catch that group of 3. That Parramatta guy's been in the break pretty much that whole time. He also had to do that chase, so I know he's probably pretty cooked. And a lap later, this is where Rick goes. I think we're close to 10 minutes left. I see Parramatta's on his wheel. I know he should be pretty tired. Waratah's in the yellow, who's bridging. I know he's pretty tired. He's been doing some work in the bunch as well. And the guy at the front, he's also been doing work in the bunch. So I know out of everyone, Rick is definitely going to be the freshest. And this is where we'll jump to Rick's camera. He has basically saw what was happening. They've attacked, he slowed down and then attacked over the top of them, and now he's got a bit of a gap. So you can see East on the right, he's been motoring all day. He was actually the day before doing some track racing, so I know his legs are cooked. That Sprinter's up the road again doing some more work, and me and Dang right now are pretty much soft pedaling because we know that Rick should be able to stay away, hopefully, depending on how organised these guys up the road get. You could probably hear a little something there. And that's the East guy, again, not too happy with what we're doing. Myself and Dang kind of slowing the pace at the front, but Rick's up the road, we're not going to chase him down, and this ends up playing well for us a little bit later on. We laugh about it, it's racing, what can you do? I basically closed this gap up to the chasing group. You can see Rick in the top left, he's pretty much at the start finish line, and we are roughly about 150 meters out, so he's got a bit of a gap now. And again, so the plan from now is just to follow wheels, not do anything, and let these guys try to close that gap to Rick down. The pace in the bunch, they are moving, but I think these guys have done a bit too much work, so I know that they're not really going to chase too hard. You can see we're strung out across the road, like 4 across. Rick's doing 300 watts, we're doing 100 watts, so each time that I'm not doing any work and letting these little gaps open up, it's helping Rick establish a bit more of a gap. Again, I know that this guy in front of me, he's probably going to be the sprinter. I know he's not going to chase Rick down, otherwise that's the end of his race, so I'll let the gap open up, and Parramatta guy, who was in there again in that break the whole day, ends up closing the gap, and I just jump on his wheel. So we are now into the final lap. There's the final bell, and I'm pretty much sitting quite well. I'm not too sure where Dang is at the moment. I think I remember seeing him not too far back. Originally the plan was to lead Dang out for the sprint if Rick gets out into a break, so that's kind of how things are working out at the moment. But given he was in that break for quite a fair chunk of the race, I'm not too sure how he's feeling, so I feel quite good. My legs are quite fresh, haven't been doing anything really, so I'm just following these wheels and hoping to get a good result. So this is that fast sweeping left hand corner. This is basically the whole last lap. This is an area where things always slow down, and just like every other lap, same thing, pace slows down a bit, and as soon as it does, on the right hand side you can see this is a different Waratah guy. He has done a few attacks already, so again, I think pretty much everyone in this race has been doing a lot of work except me, which works out quite well. He goes off the right, I pretty much go to follow this. We've got a whole train of people on the right. I'm looking to slot into a gap here and kind of find a wheel. This guy has a teammate behind him, tells me that's his wheel. Fair enough. Well, I'm not going to squeeze him out, and I know that there's a left hand coming, so I swing left, and then I end up actually getting the racing line, so I end up sliding into the wheel that I want anyway. And now I'm perfectly in 5th position. The pace is actually quite high. I think they may have seen Rick not too far up the road. Actually, he is quite far up the road, so they probably didn't see him. The Waratah guy in the front is drilling it. He's got a teammate in the back, not too far back. And Easts obviously have their 2 guys behind me. And Parramatta, he's actually not in a bad position either. So after this right hand turn, it's a kind of a slight incline up into the final left hand turn, which goes into the straight. I see East coming up on the left, I presume to give his mate a lead out over here, which is exactly what happens. I don't want to get boxed in towards the right, so I'm kind of leaving a bit of a gap on my left, making sure no one's coming. As soon as the East guy launches his attack, I just go. This is quite far out. I'm literally just holding power. My legs are feeling good. I get as aero as I can. Ivan on the side gives me that good slow motion video. I end up having a bit of a gap. There's Rick, and we end up getting 1-2, which is awesome. I think Dang finishes about 6th or 7th. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was insightful. Cheers.